Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Strege, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Strege, and here I have another review for you, this time of a 3-episodal miniseries that is based on Frank Herbert's Dune, and it actually says that that it is called Frank Herbert's Dune, at least, and it was on the Sci-Fi channel, and it was directed by John Harrison. Now, John Harrison, he had directed 8 episodes of the original Tales from the Dark Side, and was, in fact, behind the Tales from the Dark Side movie in the 1990s. And he went on to direct 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, a couple episodes of Earth 2, which I have, and up until he ended up doing a couple of TV movies in between, a couple more TV episodes until he put together and directed Dune. Now, Dune is based on one of the best, and it might actually be the best science fiction book out there. It predates this series. It was, I think, written in the 70s. I'll have to go back and check what the year of the original Dune was. I don't really know. I probably should have done research beforehand on that, but I really like this series, and I figured I'd go from my without doing all of that, how I perceive the story of Dune. Now, the story of Dune involves a lot of politics around the planet, this planet of Arrakis. And Arrakis, on Arrakis, there is a harvested crop called spice, and it is what makes the universe around and the empire run. And whoever controls the spice controls everything else. So in here we have the story of the Atreides house and the Harkonnens, and of course there's an emperor, a princess, and on the one side we got Paul Atreides and his mother, who evidently is a Bene Gesserit student. Now, Bene Gesserits, according to Dune, it's at least Dune history itself, they are they are supposedly witches or magicians of some sort. Much of their birthings are kept in secret, a kind of a political thing going on there. And what do you know? Paul's mother, Jessica, is the Duke Leto Atreides, uh, what you would consider a wife these days, and she was a concubine, a whore, but a royal whore. But she was not of royal birth, at least at first. Um, it's not until later that we learn her lineage as well as Paul's. Well, Paul, in the very beginning, we see him to be a learning student, and he is learning how to fight. He is learning the ways of the planet in which he is about to embark to meet his father on. His planet was originally Caladan, which was a place that involved water or lived on water, whereas Arrakis has everything to do with sand. It has these people called the Fremen who have these very cool blue glowing eyes. According to um, their ways, apparently, they, because of eating the spice for many years, got these blue glowing eyes, and that is why they are different from the others. Now, the Fremen, once they get there, they're very common folk. They live very basically, and it seems like they revere water to the highest esteem. If water, if they spit water on the floor, it's not an insult. It's actually more out of respect. As we learn when we meet Stilgar for the first time, which Stilgar is not the leader of the people of the Fremen, but he is a leader of one of the sieges in the way south. And see what Duke Leto Atreides is trying to do is he realizes that there is power in the people of the desert that mine the place. So he's sending his best dude, who was played by Duncan, or who I think his name is Duncan Idaho. Um, but yeah, I believe that on the other side of things, we got the Baron Harkonnen and his two sons, or two heirs. I don't want to say sons because I'm not entirely sure. But you have the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is played by Ian McNeice, and he plays him to the all out, esteem, uh, a comic book flair, and he is a character. He's this fat goon who just wants Arrakis back. He has never liked the Atreides, and he has warred against them. His family has for many years, and he's out to dethrone him regardless. So he's got his spies, whatnot. You got Thade, who Thade Rautha Harkonnen, who was played by Matt Kieslar, who also played in Rose Red at the time. And we also have the Padishah Emperor Shaddam Carino IV, played by Giancarlo Giannini, who eventually we see him in Hannibal as the cop who gets his nards cut to smithereens over some Italian square or something like that. But uh, eventually, we meet the Princess Irulan Carino, who was played by Julie Cox. She was very beautiful at this time. I kind of had a crush on her. She was in the Tenth Kingdom, and I believe that she played in Two and a Half Men. Was it as the sister, the annoying sister? But in any case, she was very young, and she was very petulant in here. Um, Apparently, her father, who is the emperor, um, he does not want her um, uh, aligned with Paul Atreides because he doesn't like him either. He doesn't like him in this. He doesn't like um, Duke Leto Atreides in the spot of where Arrakis is. He wants his part in it because the spice must flow, and uh, to him, you know, he'd rather have the Harkonnens in on the whole thing than the honest Duke Atreides. So, but there was a traitor amongst their midst, and the Duke is in fact ultimately killed Jessica and Paul, who are played by Saskia Reeves and Alec Newman. Um, do and end up having to be thrown out to the desert, and what's interesting is there is another character here by the name of Professor Paul Professor Pardo Kynes, who was played by Carol Dobry. Um, and he is a character that evidently plays both sides of the coin. He ultimately helps them escape to the desert, and what happens is Paul is and his mother end up reaching the seas where Stilgar, who was played by Uwe Oceansnecht, he ultimately invites them into their seas, and this is where Paul actually starts to learn how to be a man. Evidently, um, Paul has been having dreams all this while. Dreams of wars, dreams of the girl that he was supposed to meet. Um, uh, Tell me about the waters of your homeland, Muad'Dib. You know, things of that nature. He saw his father's death, and these are some frightening things. Well, in the siege is um, the girl Cheney that uh, she's a very beautiful girl, played by Barbara Kodatova. Um, so I really feel like she actually did um, in fact play her part very well. I really enjoyed her being um, the companion to uh, Paul Atreides. Now Jessica, on the other hand, she taught Paul everything he knew about the weirding ways. Not only does he know how to fight like a Bene Gesserit, he knows how to fight indefinitely. So his training in fight skills is supposedly superior. Now, there's another character here that is kind of interesting. Gurney Halleck, who happens to be the weapons master for Duke Leto Atreides. Now, he can play the balisette and yet supposedly be like this guy that can like really seriously kill you if in hand to hand combat. But he thinks that Jessica was in fact the person involved in Duke Leto Atreides' death. So when he pulls his knife on her, Paul didn't see that coming, and that bothered him. That bothered him that he couldn't see everything, and he just wanted to more and more see everything before it happened, and he was never able to see everything that happened. But he was able to eventually turn the tide of um, the people of the Fremen to working with him to bring down the emperor and uh, tell him that this cannot go on. Spice will not flow if my demands aren't met. I mean, obviously he knew that the emperor was involved in his father's demise, so there was really no room for the emperor to even say shit towards the end. I mean, Cheney and Paul Atreides, they ended up having a son, and the son was found in a siege and, from what I understand, killed. So this is what brought about the end, at least of the Emperor's demise, or at least the reign of the people that surround the planets and whatnot. So um, I liked the the fact that um, they were able to overcome the Sardaukar and the Harkonnen agents, and I like the fact that the people stood for a certain belief in this what they called the Mahdi, or and evidently they were looking for this voice from the outworld, this Messiah, this person that was supposed to save them um, from this slavery, and it was an interesting culture, to say the least. They had a way of life and a way of believing, and it was true and real, and I think that's what I like about the Fremens. And I thought that the acting involved by all around in this um, in this particular miniseries were like spot on. I mean, you saw that Thade could kill um, several times, but apparently Thade was um, or called for combat for the death of his father and everything that has happened. He finally called a battle to the death to avenge his family line. And he was kicking Paul's butt for a little bit. I mean, we know that he uh, that he could have like knocked his ass out like right away, and and my fiance was just in the background at the time saying, "Hey, he looks like a puny little shit. We know him to be a better fighter than that. Why is he able to get the upper hand yet?" So, but apparently both knew enough combat to. And what's interesting is that you know after the fight, when Princess Irulan, and that's an interesting thing. She actually came and sought um, Paul out before he was ousted from Dune, and they had an interesting conversation. But that was still when he was still, before he had become a man. There is a love between him and Cheney that is not going to happen between him and the princess. And yet, um, it is left up to the viewer as to what may happen in the future with him and the princess. Um, so and Dr. Kynes, he ended up being Cheney's father, which was interesting because when he first met him, Paul first met him in this plant room where evidently it was a room that was put in by the ancestors, and evidently one of the plants needed a new water thing, and when Cheney learned that her father had died, there was a plant that was in her home that needed a new water thingy too. So that was kind of interesting. But I do like that there was a moment where, and see, was also a Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam, who told Paul that he was the uh, shall I say, the Kwisatz Haderach, the man who could be many places at once. Um, but Paul found out that he was much, much more. He was the fulcrum, the tool of fate. So, but there is a moment where the Lady Jessica is pregnant. She's pregnant with Duke Leto's latest child, and she drinks the water of life. And she did not tell anyone that she was pregnant at the time, and so when she drank the water of life, that opened the consciousness of the child inside's mind, which made her a little bit more queer and a little bit. I don't know why, but I love how Aaliyah Atreides. She's this sarcastic little child, this impudent little child, and she's like, "Hello, grandfather." Say hello. Now you finally said hello to the Atreides Gamjabar, which the Gamjabar is a test of pain. Um, that Paul was tested by the Emperor's truthsayer to see how much pain he could take. So, in any case, hopefully, I mean, I love the. Let's see, where was this? So this was filmed in the Czech Republic, um, in Sida. So yeah, that's interesting that this was um, filmed in Canada, Germany, and Italy. It's got different countries involved in it, but the language is Italian. Um, so the film was made for an estimated budget of $20 million, and the production companies were Milk and Honey Pictures, eVision, New Amsterdam Entertainment, Tandem Communications, Victor Television Productions Inc., and the distributor of this director's cut was in fact Artisan Entertainment, which is a company I believe that is no longer in existence anymore. So I appreciate your time spent here on the page. I enjoyed all of the characters involved, the politics, the different dreams that Paul had, and especially the moment where Paul had drank from the water of life, and he showed his mother some of the future. And so, to me, some of the CGI in this was amazing at this point in time. I mean, this was one of the better sci-fi channel things. I absolutely loved the entire series. Loved that the characters were more fleshed out, and I thought this was a lot more truer to the book. So, in any case, thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. I definitely recommend this miniseries for you out there, and thank you so much for coming to the page. And let me know down in the comments whether you've seen this miniseries or not. It was definitely entertaining. Plus, there is a new Dune that is supposedly supposed to be coming out eventually. And the director of this, he went on to do a TV movie called Supernova, another TV movie I saw called Book of Blood, and some of the episodes of Creepshow, the one that you saw might have seen on Shudder at one point a point in time. So he's still around, still doing stuff. But in any case, thank you for listening. Enjoy my review, and definitely check the miniseries out for yourself. It was a treat.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?